Hello and welcome to my usual review of the latest Path of Exile League, Lake of Kalandra. Or is it Kalandra?
In the Kalandra Challenge League.
As always, we will be talking about the league and not the patch. If they nerfed skill X or farming strategy Y, I'm sorry to hear that, but we will not talk about that in my review. And to clarify, this has nothing to do with what happened at the beginning of the league and the controversy and all that, because I have always just been talking about the league and not the patch. If you want to skip to a specific part of the video, there should be timestamps down below in the description, or maybe you should see them already down here, just right here. With this out of the way, let's start with this league review. Brief overview. Lake of Kalandra was a big league. The league has 3 words, that's what I'm talking about. It was released on August 19th, 2022 and will likely run until the beginning of December. Because of a lot of issues with the patch that we aren't going to talk about, the league has received a lot of updates from week 1 and onwards. This makes reviewing the league a bit tough because week 1 Lake of Kalandra was different than 3 weeks in. Without going too in depth, I will briefly talk about what Lake of Kalandra was, what I liked and disliked as I played it over multiple weeks. Gameplay. Each instance from the first area after Lionel's Watch has one mirrored tablet that pushes out of the ground when you get closer. After interacting with it, a UI opens up that allows you to influence the lake by placing one of 3 possible reflections on it. When the reflection is placed, you receive new choices, allowing you to further influence the lake. In the endgame, you're able to place 2 or 3 reflections per map. The further the reflections are placed away from the start, the higher the difficulty. Unsure if they told us what the difficulty is, but my guess is damage reduction and probably more health, similar to Delirium. Either way, the enemies feel significantly more challenging as the difficulty goes up. You usually need to clear the big unique enemy on the tile and most monsters for a chest to appear. Well, some tiles give chests, some don't. For example, Essence and Shrine tiles don't. Chests can offer currency, armor, weapon and a couple more types of reward. If you have finished reflections at a specific difficulty, the game rewards you with tools that allow you to modify the lake further. You can skip the choices and move on to the next set of reflections, but then you give up one choice of this instance. Re-rolling allows you to get a new set of reflections and not waste the choice for this instance. And the last one allows you to ban or exile one reflection for the future until you finish this mirror tablet. You could remove one reflection, but the higher tier of reflection can still appear, which I personally don't like. I would have preferred a system that allows me to ban groups of reflections or tiles. So for example, banning every cold related type, or maybe I don't want to see any essence related things, or no metamorph, no matter the tier of reflection. I just don't want to see that type. Now, back when I saw this in the live stream, I was very happy, right? I was excited. Not only do we have the choice of, what we do or where we place all the tiles. On top of that, after you finish preparing the mirror tablet, the thing, you can take it out and itemize it, similar to the temple. And I'm like, this is great, because now I can just sell it to other people, or, store it for later and be like, you know what, today is lake day. I'm just gonna do 20 lakes in a row, and the other days I'm just not, so you can just do whatever you want instead of having to do it right now. Of course, if I show you a screenshot of Synthesis or a finished temple, you might be thinking, hold on, I have seen this one before. Yes, Grinding Gear Games loves to use ideas from the past leagues and change things up enough that it feels new. We will check out gameplay comparisons in a minute and you will realize how different the lake is. On top of creating a lake with reflections and difficult encounters, we also get new loot from new base types, as well as lore about Kalandra and a taste of Kalandra's power. There are 2 rewards with Kalandra. In one, she spawns a portal. sometimes two that randomly gives you a ring or amulet with mirrored values. Not only can one item have a T1 life modifier that then gets doubled, but also the opposite can happen, mirroring the modifier and giving you negative life. With many modifiers in the game and many modifiers being very valuable, like +1 skill gems, you can potentially get something incredibly powerful, and some builds quickly utilize this. For example, Mathil's rolling Magma build used a reduced projectile speed modifier, allowing for many bounces of the orb, dealing massive single target damage. Now, the second reward that Kalandra offers is mirroring an item of your choice. Both prefix and suffixes are randomly chosen. So if you're lucky, you could potentially get double the value of the modifiers you need. Or you break your item and you can throw it in the garbage. And we all know what's going to happen, right? You bricked your item, didn't you? Yeah, you did. Still, in good old GGG fashion, this was incredibly rare. In my many hours, I have not seen a single one of those reflected mists or portals, however you want to call them. It probably had something to do with how I created my lakes, but I'm getting some ultimatum boss vibes here, which in my opinion I don't like at all. I get it though, that such a powerful crafting tool needs to be rare, but maybe they could have modified it in some form to give us multiple versions of the reflecting mist. The developers are incredibly smart, so they probably know about this, and it probably came down to development time. Now, everything so far made sense with Kalandra. Her powers, the reflections, the lore. Well, to throw this in here, the lore that you can find in the lake is lackluster. I would have liked to see a lot more, especially when it comes to such a famous character like Kalandra. I assume this is just an introduction to her, as well as her lake, and we will see much more of her in the future. Maybe even in the story of Path of Exile 2?
And as whole animal breeds populate and change, they are growing smarter in small ways, and watching their antics keeps me sane. One day, they will understand what it is to be alive, and they will wonder why they are.
Temple versus Lake. Gameplay comparison. While writing the script, I started to notice more and more comparisons to the temple, so let's take a quick look at the gameplay differences. First off, depending on the tiles and the movement skill that fits your build, you are able to teleport across tiles, which is a huge advantage compared to the temple, where every wall stops you at every corner. Next we have the difference in monsters. Well, same and different. There are no new enemies because you reflect things from Rayclast onto the lake, so the things you fight are nothing new, but their difficulty and how they scale is. Having multiple different reflections also spices things up, and you need to pay attention. Let's compare this to the temple. Rooms or monsters in the temple don't matter, for the most part. Don't at me. But the reflections in the lake matter a lot more, because the difficulty scales the further you move away from the start. Sometimes you might want to check if the upcoming tile is a difficulty 4 or maybe a difficulty 7. The type also matters. Speaking of the type, moving from a Rook Exile to an Essence and then to a Scourge Reflection requires you to change your approach each time, because every single one of those needs its own approach and has gameplay associated with it. A Rook Exile can be quite tough, depending on which one it is. Essences need to be clicked on to start the encounter, so you start off in close combat, which can be a huge risk. Scourge monsters can spawn from the rats that you kill on the tile, but if you spawn too many in a short amount, you can easily get overwhelmed. Also, you don't know which Scourge faction it is until you start seeing the monsters. Let's be honest, we all know the pale enemies in Scourge are the worst, right? And how could I forget about, oh, here's a boss, now you have to be even more aware. Okay, I might be biased here, because I don't like the temple at all. But just looking at the differences in gameplay, I would much more prefer to run 100 lakes instead of 100 temples. And if you're thinking, wow Daniel, just because you dislike the temple doesn't mean the lake is good. Okay, I hear you, but let me give you one last comparison that will change your mind. The temple has doors. The lake doesn't. Visuals. Moving on to visuals, but still having the topic of comparisons in mind, have you looked at synthesis gameplay? There was this blue texture and black void that you had to run away from. Cool, but visually not that impressive. Now take a look at the lake, and it has beautiful water reflections on top of brand new tile sets with pillars coming out of the water, forming the areas that you can run on. It's not just nice to look at, but matters in how you play. It's so much more interesting than synthesis. Not saying I wouldn't want to play synthesis right now, but I think they grew from their past experiences, making the lake feel and look this good. So overall, Lake of Kalandra looks like a proper modern League in Path of Exile. Music and sound. I don't know if you know this, but usually League music is like a minute 30 or 2 minutes long, max. This time, the composition is 5 minutes and 30 seconds long. This is so much more, which makes sense because you spend a lot of time in the lake. So the music can't just loop every 2 minutes. It would take you out of the experience. Now having such a long track from GGG's new composer Michael James Collier was probably a difficult thing on its own, because you need to constantly change things up to keep it interesting. Overall, listening to the full composition while writing this, it is different, but it fits Path of Exile perfectly. I'm therefore looking forward to Michael's next work. It might take some time before we hear the music to Lake of Kalandra again, but I look forward to when it comes back. Sound is very difficult to break down for me, and I need to be more aware when playing games, because sound is always there, but you never actively consume it. At least I rarely do. In general, the sound was either good or great. Good when it comes to the pillars coming out of the ground, and great when Kalandra got a bit mad and blasted her wave of energy thingy, and it gave you this feeling of, oh, I should be careful. For a brief moment it makes your character feel less powerful. That is good, because Kalandra shouldn't come across as a weak creature. At least I think so. Why I don't like Lake of Kalandra as a league. Big opinion time here. I have to make this its own part of the video, because so far I have been mostly praising Lake of Kalandra. You know, visually, music, sound, gameplay, everything is just sick. This is probably a bad habit from me, but sadly we humans like breaking things into different topics and categories, and it just makes it easier for us to remember things. So I break leagues down into two camps. One, I instantly receive my reward after doing the league content. 2. I don't get my reward yet, but a bit later by doing more of the league content. Let me give you some examples. Sentinel was 1, because I do the thing in the map and get my rewards right then and there, laying on the ground. I pick it up, profit. Arch Nemesis, the league. I'm not talking about the patch or what is currently in the game. I'm talking about the league. Calm down there, Redditor. In Arch Nemesis, you interacted with the statues, chose the vials, or however they were called, killed the rare, and you got mostly nothing? Why? Because the reward was stacking multiple, in quotes, vials to get better loot as you do more statues. The reward has been delayed, but I do have to actively do the league content to potentially get my reward later. This might be a bit weird, but incubators, not being a league of course, also has delayed reward. You slap this on an item and you just gotta kill some mobs and then you get your loot. But you don't have to actively look at it. You don't have to like give it water, pet it, look after it, be careful that it doesn't like stumble down the stairs. You just press 2 buttons and then you wait for loot to appear. That's it. This is effortless, but also delayed, which is a nice middle ground. Expedition is number 2 again. You get it by picking up the artifacts, now being auto pickup, and then going to the expedition NPCs and haggling for your reward, or crafting if you do wrong. Therefore, I don't like Lake of Kalandra because you interact with the mirror tablet in the map, which is a UI, so that's already bad, over multiple maps to then do the content that may give you a reward that you want or need. I don't want grinding gear games to make every league a loot now type of league, because that would just drastically reduce the types of leagues they can do. I want to see interesting leagues, mechanics, bosses, and loot. That's why I have been playing Path of Exile, because every league has something new and different. It's still an ARPG. It's still hacking and slashing and getting loot. Just how you require the loot and what you hack and slash changes. And that's why I love playing the leagues. It's different every time. Conclusion. With this, I will steal Josh Strife Hayes' method of giving out my final review score. Path of Exile, Lake of Kalandra gets a crazy bird lady out of 10. Thank you so much for watching my league review. As an annoying YouTuber, I have to tell you, you have to like and subscribe. Nah, you don't have to. But I mean, I would really appreciate it if you enjoyed and watched this far, so, oh. And if you really want more videos to watch, dude, I got you, bro, I got you. I can highly recommend checking out Nova Drift, especially if you're a Path of Exile player. Like, really check it out. I think it scratches that Path of Exile itch very much if you like, creating builds. Go check that out. Or if you want just an indie game and a really fun video that took me 10 hours to make and more, go check out the Lost Ruins video. I always forget mentioning this, but I do streaming. I know, what a shocker. 2022 and you stream video games? Whoa, bro. Yes, Path of Exile is every Thursday and every Sunday. I currently play the Terraria Zenith Seed. If you have no idea what that is and don't care, well, you might enjoy Cyberpunk in December, so get ready for that. Also, if you just kind of care about what I think about the manifestos that are currently coming out of the website, about Jules, Arch Nemesis, and etc. for the 3.20 patch, go check out the Discord. I usually write and post the links there, and we have some brief discussions over there, so maybe you want to join the Discord as well. Alright, I spammed you with so much, hey, can you do this for me real quick? So, thank you again for watching this video until now. Hope you have a great rest of your day and or your weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.